Part 4. Return to Cottonwood. Some roads demand more than footsteps. They demand courage, patience, and the willingness to carry the past alongside you. The train rattled over the iron tracks, and Thomas watched the fields return in a patchwork of brown and green. The same wind-swept horizon, the same crooked fence posts, the same pecan trees waiting patiently for the seasons. Clara sat beside him, fingers intertwined in her lap, staring out the window at the familiar landscape that felt both foreign and intimate. "I've never seen land like that," she whispered. "It'll take some getting used to," he said. "Land doesn't forgive mistakes easily, but it doesn't mind patience either." She nodded, absorbing every word. When the bus rolled to a stop at the corner of Cottonwood Road, Thomas hesitated. The green shutters of his old house came into view, stubborn against time, and for a moment he thought about turning away. But Clara squeezed his hand, steadying him. "It's home," he murmured. They walked the half-mile to the farmhouse together. Scout ran up the lane, fur bristling, tail wagging furiously. He recognized Thomas immediately, but paused when he saw Clara, sniffing cautiously. She knelt down, letting the dog nuzzle her hand, and Scout finally accepted her. The front porch creaked under their weight as they climbed the steps. The green shutters, faded and chipped, seemed almost to nod in welcome. Inside, the house smelled of old wood and dust, familiar and comforting. Thomas opened the windows, letting sunlight pour in, while Clara swept her hands across the mantel and polished the small table where Margaret had once placed her cups of tea. This was her favorite spot, Thomas said, nodding toward the corner by the window. Clara touched it gently. "I can feel it." They set Margaret's belongings carefully on the bed, the letters she had written over the years, the photograph with her bright smile, the small trinkets she had treasured. They were relics of a life that had been paused too long. Evening fell, and the two sat on the porch together, watching the fields bend under the wind. "I don't know if I can do this," Clara admitted softly. "Do what?" he asked. "Make this place mine. Make it ours." Thomas leaned back in the rocker. Scout rested at his feet. "Clara," he said slowly, "this land doesn't belong to me alone. It belongs to anyone who's willing to care for it, who's willing to fight for it when storms come. You've got that strength. You just need to believe it." The wind carried the scent of pecans and damp earth. The horizon seemed endless, a reminder that the world kept moving, but some things, like love, loss, and memory, remained rooted, like the trees. The next morning they began repairing the house together. Thomas climbed onto the roof to patch leaks, while Clara painted the shutters. Scout followed them everywhere, a vigilant observer of this slow resurrection. Neighbors, curious about the new arrival, came by. Amos Jenkins waved from his porch down the lane. "Well, I'll be damned. Thomas finally brought someone home." Clara smiled shyly. "Hello, Mr. Jenkins." He tipped his hat. "You take care of him now. He's good people, that one. Stubborn as an old mule, but good." As the days passed, Clara learned to drive the tractor, mend fences, and even make pecan pies, the kind that Margaret had once baked in the small kitchen. Thomas watched her progress with quiet pride. One afternoon, while fixing the fence near the river, Clara paused to look at the horizon. "Do you think she'd be proud?" she asked. "Margaret would be proud, and she'd tell you to keep moving forward, that life doesn't wait for regret." They stood there, side by side, watching the fields. The sun lowered behind the distant hills, setting the sky ablaze with gold and amber. For the first time in years, Thomas felt a quiet kind of peace settle in his chest. Clara leaned on the fence beside him. Scout barked at a rabbit in the distance. The wind carried the memory of Margaret, gentle but persistent, like the echo of a song long loved. The past was still present, but it no longer weighed them down. They had returned not just to the land, but to life itself, messy, beautiful, and theirs to shape. As darkness fell and the first stars appeared above the pecan trees, Thomas realized that some stories don't end with one life alone. They continue, carried by the people who remain and the love they choose to nurture. And in the last light on Cottonwood Road, hope finally felt tangible.